I guess one of my aunts had a friend that worked in this hospital that's like, this is the best guy. You got to go to this guy. And that was the guy who changed everything. Like he was doing all the different types of chemos and different combinations where my mom was starting to do so much better. And there was a point where it was looking like things were going to be fine, like completely fine, right? Like she was what's remission. She was in remission and it was so long since she showed any signs of cancer that the doctor was like, this is going really good. And like my mom was pumped. I didn't know about I was too young for them to really tell me about it. But apparently at the time, my whole family was like so excited and they were so happy. Like this doctor was doing amazing things. And that doctor never took a vacation in his whole life, right? He was always working. And at one point, his wife convinced him to go on vacation. And I guess they were in, I forgot if it was Baltimore or somewhere in Jersey where they were going to might have been Newark to drop off their car. And they were going to go into the airport. And this guy's never taken a vacation, never taken a day off. This guy, I guess, is in the parking lot and a bunch of guys run up on him trying to steal his car and rob him. And I guess he must have fought back and they killed him.
What?
Yeah. This guy was everything to this guy was my mom's rock. Like this guy was the best at what he did. And my mom was in such a good place. So my dad told me after he passed, we had to find a new doctor. And then when we went to the new doctor and we went to a couple people, they're like, it doesn't really look too good. And like my mom's like morale dropped and something happened where she was like on a downward spiral after that. But up until then, whatever that doctor was doing, like he was the best at what he did. Like she was in such a good place. And like, there's a part of me that, because those guys who did that are in jail for life, right? And there's a part of me, there's two sides. There's one side that wants to write them a letter in jail and be like, fuck you. Like you ruined the chances of my mom being at my wedding one day. Like whether they did or didn't, like whatever would happen after that. But like my mom went on that was when things started to go the worst and it never recovered after that. And then there's the other side of me that it's like, they are already in prison for life and they're already in a cell and they have to think about what they did. And would me telling them what they did and what they did to me, is that going to make me feel better? Is being vindictive and having a vendetta against these guys who maybe they were on drugs and made the wrong decision. I don't know. I've been trying to tackle this and try to tell myself, because it takes so much for me to not like visit them and be like, I want to fucking kill you, But the other part of me is like, as I've grown emotionally, especially with my mom doing this whole thing, like it's made me realize that everyone's going through something. You never know what someone's going through. And sometimes you might think someone's just a fucking asshole, but they could be going through some shit where they're like, I need money or else my kids aren't going to eat. And it's like, I'm not trying to justify what they did, because sometimes there's some things you can't justify, but you have to do, And I don't think that guy deserved to die. And I don't think that what they did was right. But I also don't think me making them realize that they also, I wouldn't feel better if that guy those guys killed themselves in prison. I would feel worse about it, So it's been just like this constant struggle the past like 2 months where I do think about it all the time. But then I remember, I'm like, is that what my mom would have wanted? Would she want me to go into a negative headspace? Like I try and do that every day. Like I said, like, is this a positive thing?
I mean, the foundation that you found in regards to always going back to what your mom would think is huge. But I had this woman on my podcast. Her name is Scarlett, and she lost her son at the Sandy Hook school shootings. And this is gonna relate at some point. And I remember one thing that stood out to me. She's talking about forgiveness, and it mentioned something of this sort where she forgave the school shooters, and which is when I first heard, I was like, okay, go on. That's a lot. And people thought she was crazy. How could you forgive these kids? And she made something clear. She's like, I forgave those kids not for them. She's like, I forgave those kids for me.
Yeah.
I forgave me because I'm holding that weight, and I'm true. And you have to truly forgive. I think there's half-assed forgiveness, but you seem to have truly forgiven those kids. Who
Mhm.
knows if she was taking the same route as what you were talking about? How people are going through some shit. Who knows how they were raised? What they had wrong with their heads? But she forgave the school shooters that killed her kid in
Wow.
Sandy Hook. And I'm bringing that up because I don't know, I'm finding some correlation of, I don't know, maybe speculative, but is there a level of forgiving those guys in prison and not taking that other route? And you're not forgiving them in a sense that you forgive them because of what they did so much, but that's part of it. But it's more if you find forgiveness to those guys that clearly affected the path your mom was on. I wonder if that's a weight that you're releasing.
Yeah, I think so.
Tell me to
Because
fuck off. If that's completely
no,
wrong.
no,
Yeah.
you're definitely that's definitely on the right track. Because when you were saying that, I remember in my head while you were telling me that story, and I bet you anyone knows what I'm about to say has felt this before. Like when you've watched a movie or you watch like Dateline and some fucked up shit happens, like you watch that, and when someone says I forgive them, you're like, nah, I would make sure I go to prison
Yeah.
and find them in prison and stab them in their cell. And then when it happens to you, you realize you can go two ways. You could be an angry person, and no matter what you do angrily, it's never going to make you feel better.
It's not bringing your mom
Or
back.
you could go, I need to do what's right for me. And being angry at this person is not what's right for me.
Right.
And that's the only way you're going to you might not ever get through it. Like I don't ever feel like, and I'm sure you understand this, you never fully get over this stuff. It's just a hole that you try and do your best to keep a nice filling over. But there's always any little divot, any little small, anything could just like cave it all in. Like you could just start crying. I'm a grown man and I could just start crying on the street when I hear the Bee Gees, like, so it's like,
Yeah.
you just have to just learn how to just, forgiving is huge. And also just trying to just stay, I know it sounds so corny, like saying to stay positive,
It's real.
but like waking up every day, and this is something I've done for the past I don't remember when I started, but waking up and doing and just being grateful for what I do have and grateful for my health. Like the other day, it made me realize, like, I was like, my mom was 42 when she died. I'm 33. I'm like, she was 9 years older than me, And it's like, that's not a very long life at all. So I'm grateful because I'm at around the age when she found out she had it. And I'm a hypochondriac with my health. So I get my blood work done every 3 months and stuff like that.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So the fact that I'm in perfect health, and like every time I go, like there's anxiety because, you never know what's in your like genetic. I'm so grateful for my health that I'm just like, I'm trying to do my best to just not be one of those people that just I was that guy that was just depressed and angry and taking it out on people and taking it out on my loved ones. And like, I lost, like me and my dad didn't talk for like 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Because he was in such a fucked up place. I was in such a fucked up place that it was hard for us to be around each other, and it made me lose time with my younger brother because I had to get out of the house. That I wish to this day, it kills me that I wasn't there for him as much as possible. Because now that I look back and he told me that thing about what's mom like, it made me realize, I'm like, he's such a strong person.